thank you. Next up is Jake George, a graduate student in the lab of Gregory Clark at the University of Utah, who will tell us not only about extracting information from the nervous system, but also about the impact of returning information to the nervous system, and specifically returning a sense of touch for people who are using a prosthetic hand.
All right, hello. Thanks for the introduction. And yeah, today I'll be talking about how we are restoring intuitive motor control and sensory feedback to amputees, and how doing so generates a sense of ownership over this prosthetic hands that they're using. So just imagine that you've woken up in the hospital to find out that both of your arms have been amputated. The question is now what? How do you hold a fork and feed yourself? How do you tie your shoe and get dressed in the morning? How do you play catch with your kid or hold hands with a loved one? More importantly, how do you feel? Physically, the world that's around you, and emotionally as a whole individual. Losing a limb is not just losing a physical part of yourself, but also losing a part of yourself emotionally. As put by one of our past participants, losing a hand is like losing a family member, except that you're reminded of it every single day. In the United States alone, there's 1.6 million individuals who suffer from limb loss. It's 1 in every 200 individuals. Symptoms include not just this functional disability, but also lifelong chronic phantom pain, as well as depression and anxiety. As a result, nearly 50% of amputees end up abandoning their prostheses, and some evidence suggests that this is partially due to a lack of sensory feedback. So at the University of Utah, what we're trying to do is restore intuitive motor control and naturalistic sensory feedback to these amputees. To restore motor control, we implant Utah slanted electrode arrays. These devices go directly into the residual nerves of the amputee. We also implant an EMG array into the residual muscles. From there, when the participant thinks about a motor action, such as grabbing a grape, that information transmits from the brain down to the peripheral nerves and muscles, where we record that information and translate it into movement, intuitive movement of the prosthetic hand. This is what we call motor decoding. And then on the other side, we have what's called sensory encoding, which is when the prosthetic hand then makes contact with objects. We have sensors on the hand that detect this, and we can translate those sensor values into stimulation parameters for the nervous system. That information is then transmitted back up to the brain, where the subject can actually perceive something as if it's coming from their actual phantom hand that they no longer have. We can then tie the motor control and sensory feedback together to create a closed-loop control system where motor actions influence your sensory perception and your sensory feedback actually influences your motor commands. And by moving towards this closed-loop system, we're able to replace the prosthetic hand with something that's more naturalistic, like the individual's own hand that they start to embody. And so with this system, we were able to see 3 important results. The first is that just by using this advanced prosthetic, there's a 15% reduction in pain. And we hope that as we start using this more long-term, this effect will be amplified. We've also been able to see that this sensory feedback enables compliance discrimination. So participants are able to distinguish between hard and soft objects, and they're also able to use this feedback to manipulate fragile objects like eggs and grapes. And then third, we've seen that using this prosthetic device, this closed-loop control system, causes embodiment so that the participant actually starts to believe that the prosthetic hand is their own hand. And this is the aspect of the work that I'd like to talk about today. So now I want to show a video just demonstrating how powerful this closed-loop control system is. So in this video, the participant is controlling a virtual hand and interacting with a virtual door. And when he thinks about moving his hand, the virtual hand moves. And when he touches the virtual door, he's able to feel sensations on his missing hand. And he's felt these sensations before, and he's been able to control the hand before, but this is his first time having them work together in unison. And what you'll see is that by incorporating this motor control with tactile and visual feedback, is that the participant gets a completely different experience than ever before. So as he reaches out and tries to touch the door, he starts to embody the prosthetic, and suddenly his hand becomes alive again, and he's able to feel for the first time in 24 years. Is your audio?
Is it possible to turn the house audio up from the computer?
Can you feel the finger sliding when you do that?
Yeah, actually I can. Bring it on there. God, that is so cool.
So at the beginning of the video, his choice of words are that, oh my God, I just felt that door. And so his choice of words are something that we point out as being really important in this situation, because it's not that he felt a sensation on his missing hand, it's that he felt the door, and it's now suddenly him interacting with these objects and feeling them. So another example of this was when we were working with a more recent participant who was controlling a sensorized 3D printed prosthetic hand. And he's able to control it intuitively and feel from it as well. And after one of these sessions of using it, we asked him if there was anything that he wanted to manipulate, anything he wanted to grab and hold with the hand. And his response was that he wanted to clasp my hands together.
Is there anything you want to grasp that you see?
I want to clasp my hands.
You can clasp your hands together if you want.
So the prosthetic was originally just a tool that helped him do some activities in his daily life. But now by providing the sensory feedback and intuitive control, it's gone away from just being a tool and something that's actually now being recognized as his own hand. And if there's anything better than feeling your own hand again after 13 years, it's feeling the hand of a loved one. So pictured here is our participant's first opportunity to hold hands with his wife and feel her touch once again. So in conclusion, what we've seen is that sensory input influences motor control, and motor actions also influence your sensory perception. So it's not just about improved dexterity or about feeling, but it's about feeling whole again and the sense of embodiment that comes with that. And so in the future, we're working towards a wireless take-home system where individuals can take this home and start using it in their regular life. And we think that as they start using this more often, all the benefits that we've shown here today will be amplified. And ultimately, we hope to provide a unified solution to a variety of different ailments that come with these limb loss. And ultimately, as put by one of our participants, it'll be just like Luke Skywalker, and then everyone will want one. Thank you.